Welcome back to another episode of our 8-Minute English podcast series. Everyone has their unique reasons for wanting to master English. So today, we're going to explore the big question, why should we learn English? And guess what? Today's episode is even more special. We'll be interviewing individuals who are also on their English learning journey, just like many of you. From their personal experiences to challenges, let's dive deep into their stories. Ready? Let's jump into today's podcast episode. Oh, and don't forget, we've prepared a special PDF study material for you related to this episode. You can click on in the link provided below. This will help you to better understand and practice the content we discussed today. Today, I'm joined by Alex, an office worker who recently immigrated to the U.S. Alex, tell us about your English learning journey.
Well, when I first moved here, I struggled. Everything from shopping to meetings at work required English.
And how has learning English helped you in your daily life?
Tremendously. I can now confidently communicate at work, and it has even opened up more job opportunities for me.
Great to hear that, Alex. All right, let's discuss some vocabulary words from our chat. First, struggled, which means to have difficulty dealing with a situation or problem. Example, I struggled to understand the accent. Next, tremendously, meaning very or to a great degree. Example, the city has changed tremendously over the years. And opportunities, which are situations or times when something can be done. Example, there are many job opportunities in the tech industry. Now let's chat with Lina, an international student. Lina, share your English learning experiences with us. So, Lina, tell us about your experience as an international student in the U.S. How has learning English affected your time here?
When I first came here, I was overwhelmed. Everything was new, and my English was not fluent. But I realized that if I wanted to make the most out of my experience, I had to improve my language skills.
Exactly. What were some challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them?
One of the main issues was understanding the American accent and slang. I joined language exchange groups and practiced every day.
That's a proactive approach. How has learning English benefited your studies?
Understanding the lessons became easier and I could express my ideas confidently. It also helped in group projects and making friends.
Lina, coming to our main topic, what do you think about the question, why should we learn English?
English is a global language. For me, it's not just about academics. It's about connecting with people, understanding cultures, and having a broader perspective of the world. It truly is a tool that helps break barriers and opens up numerous opportunities.
That's wonderful to hear, Lina. Learning a language truly opens up many doors. Thanks for sharing your experience with us today. After talking with Lina, here are some vocabulary words for you all. The first vocabulary word is global. This means relating to the entire world. Example, English is a global language spoken in many countries. The second word is academics. This refers to subjects and studies associated with a school or education in general. Example, while she excels in academics, she also enjoys sports. The last word is perspective. It means a particular way of considering something or a point of view. Example, traveling gives you a broader perspective on life. It's obvious that many young people today are learning English, but what about the older generation? Mr. Wilson, can you share your experience as someone from an older generation learning English?
Certainly, Nathan. I started learning English after I retired. At times, I felt that I was too old to start learning a new language. The thought was daunting, to be honest.
It must have been challenging. What motivated you to push through those feelings and continue learning?
I've always believed that age is just a number. I wanted to travel, meet new people, and not be limited by language. Plus, the joy of learning something new keeps me going.
Your perspective is inspiring, Mr. Wilson. It just shows that with determination and a positive attitude, age is just a number. To our listeners, age should never be a barrier. It's all about the passion to learn and the journey itself. Each day offers a new opportunity to learn something new. Embrace it. Thanks to everyone who sent in their questions to us. Let's address some of them today. While speaking, I am literally searching for words in my mind, so it takes time to convey a message. How to solve it? A great question. This is a common issue. I suggest practicing speaking regularly and expanding your vocabulary. Also, always remember to read out loud. This helps in building fluency and reduces the time you take to form sentences. How to improve my pronunciation? Thanks for asking. Start by listening to native speakers, mimic their tone and pitch. Using pronunciation apps and practicing with tongue twisters can also be beneficial. Finally, to Nerdin KL's message. My name is Nerdin KL. I'm Somali. I want to ask one question about learning English. How can I learn English and improve my speaking skills? Nerdin, you're on the right track by listening to native speakers. Also, try speaking with others in English, join language exchange communities, and consider taking an English course. I hope these answers were helpful. If you have more questions, feel free to drop them below. It's been wonderful discussing these topics with you all. Remember, every step you take in your learning journey counts. Don't get disheartened. Keep pushing forward. And see you again in the next 8-minute English podcast episode. Hello, everyone. It's Nathan here. Welcome back to the Learn English podcast channel. Today, we're talking about a very important topic, how to start learning English for beginners. And to help us answer this question, I have invited a very special guest, Miss Jessica.
Thank you, Nathan. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica. I run the YouTube channel Learn English with Jessica. It's a great honor to be here.
Jessica, what do you think about learning English?
Learning English can be fun and exciting. It's like opening a door to the world. It helps us meet new people and learn new things. But it's also challenging.
Absolutely, Jessica. So, where should our beginners start?
Now, if you're just starting, it's okay to feel a little scared. But don't worry, we're here to help.
So, Jessica, could you share your first tip for our beginners learning English?
Sure, Nathan. My first tip is speak English whenever and wherever you can.
That sounds simple enough. But how can beginners practice this?
Start with simple greetings. Say hello or how are you to friends or even to yourself in the mirror.
Speaking to yourself? That's an interesting idea.
Yes, it helps build confidence. And use English in your daily tasks, like doing GTD, the Getting Things Done method.
So, put English into everyday life is key.
Exactly. And don't worry about making mistakes. It's all part of the learning process.
I guess fear of making mistakes stops a lot of people.
It does. But remember, every mistake is an opportunity to learn.
Great advice, Jessica. So, speaking English as much as possible is the first step.
Yes, and try to find a speaking partner or join an English-speaking group online.
That's a great idea. It can make learning more interactive and fun.
Exactly. And listening to English music or watching movies can also improve your speaking skills.
So, immerse yourself in the language as much as you can.
Absolutely. The more you surround yourself with English, the faster you'll learn.
Thank you for sharing, Jessica. This tip is definitely a game changer for beginners.
My pleasure, Nathan. I'm happy to help.
Moving on, Jessica. What is the second tip you have for us?
The second tip is to learn new words every day. It's a simple yet powerful way to build your vocabulary.
That sounds like a solid strategy. But how can beginners effectively learn new words?
One way is to use flashcards. Write the new word on one side and its meaning on the other.
Flashcards, got it. And reviewing them regularly would help, I assume.
Exactly. Another tip is to read as much as possible. Reading helps you encounter new words in context.
Reading? Like books, articles, or anything specific?
Anything that interests you. It could be books, online articles, or even social media posts.
So, keeping it varied and interesting. That's a great approach.
Yes, and try to use the new words in sentences. This will help you remember them better.
Using them in sentences, right? It's like making those words truly yours.
Absolutely. And don't hesitate to ask for meanings of words you don't understand.
Asking questions is part of the learning process, then.
It is. Curiosity will lead you to learn more and faster.
Jessica, this tip is incredibly helpful. Learning new words daily can really expand one's vocabulary.
Yes, and it's exciting to see progress as your vocabulary grows.
Thanks for sharing this tip, Jessica. I'm sure our listeners will find it very useful. Let's get to the third tip, shall we?
The third tip is immersion. You must immerse yourself in English as much as possible.
Immerse? Could you explain a bit more about what that means?
Certainly. Immersion means surrounding yourself with English. Listen, speak, read, and think in English.
That sounds like a comprehensive approach. How can beginners start immersing themselves?
Start by changing the language settings on your phone or computer to English. It's a simple step, but very effective.
Interesting. And I suppose watching English movies or TV shows helps too?
Absolutely. Watching media in English helps you get used to the rhythm and sounds of the language.
And I guess trying to think in English is part of this immersion process?
Yes, thinking in English forces your brain to work in the language, which accelerates your learning.
It's like living in an English-speaking environment without having to travel.
Exactly. And try to interact with native speakers online or find language exchange partners.
Interaction with native speakers can really boost confidence and skills.
Yes, and it provides real-life practice, which is invaluable for learning.
This tip really emphasizes the importance of active engagement with the language.
Absolutely. Immersion is key to mastering English. The more you immerse, the quicker you learn.
Thanks for sharing such an essential tip, Jessica. Our listeners will surely benefit from it.
It's my pleasure, Nathan. Remember, consistency and immersion are your best friends on this journey,
we've covered a lot of ground today, Jessica. What's the final tip you have for our audience?
The last tip is to spend time with people who speak English. This is vital for practicing and improving your language skills.
That makes a lot of sense. But what if our listeners don't know any English speakers around them?
There are many online communities and language exchange sites where you can meet English speakers.
So, leveraging the internet to find speaking partners. Great advice.
Yes, and don't forget about local meetups or English speaking clubs. They can be great places to practice.
Joining clubs sounds like a fun way to learn. Plus, you get to meet new people.
Exactly. It's about creating a supportive environment where you can freely practice speaking English.
And I imagine it boosts confidence too as you use English in real-life situations.
Absolutely. Confidence grows with practice, and before you know it, speaking English becomes second nature.
This has been incredibly informative, Jessica. Spending time with English speakers is key to learning the language.
Yes, Nathan. I hope your listeners find these tips helpful on their journey to becoming fluent in English.
Thank you for sharing your expertise, Jessica. Our listeners surely have a lot to take away from today's podcast.
It was my pleasure, Nathan. Thank you for having me. And to everyone listening, keep practicing and don't give up.
Now, let's discuss some vocabulary from the conversation. Immersion. The action of immersing someone or something in a liquid in language learning. It often refers to a method of teaching a foreign language by the exclusive use of that language. Example, she improved her Spanish by moving to Spain for total immersion in the language and culture. Flashcards. Cards bearing information such as vocabulary words on either or both sides, used in classroom drills or in private study. They are a popular method for learning and memorizing facts. Example, he used flashcards to memorize the periodic table for his chemistry class. Strategy. A plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall aim. In various contexts, it involves setting goals, determining actions to achieve the goals, and mobilizing resources to execute the actions. Example, their strategy for improving their English skills included practicing speaking for an hour each day. Interact. Definition, to act in such a way as to have an effect on another, to communicate or work together. This term is often used to describe social actions between people or between people and technology. Example, the best way to learn a new language is to interact with native speakers. Engagement. The action of engaging or being engaged. In social contexts, it refers to the involvement or commitment to some activity or process. In digital media, it often refers to the extent of an audience's interaction with content. Example, the teacher increased student engagement by incorporating interactive games into the lessons. Curiosity. A strong desire to know or learn something. It refers to the interest leading individuals to explore, investigate, and ask questions about their surrounding world. Example, her curiosity about other cultures led her to travel to over 20 countries. Well, that wraps up today's episode of the Learn English podcast. A huge thank you to Miss Jessica for joining us and sharing such valuable tips for learning English. And don't forget, every little step counts. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more tips and discussions that will help you on your English learning journey. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep pushing your limits and exploring the world through English. Goodbye. Welcome back to another episode of Podcast and Chill. I'm Leo, and I'm excited to talk about today's topic.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gwen. It's great to be here again, ready to share some thoughts with you all.
So, Gwen, do you know why today's episode is going to be great?
Let me guess. Because you're hosting it?
Exactly. And because we're talking about something very important, overcoming the fear of speaking English.
That's true. Many people are scared to speak English because they are afraid of making mistakes.
I used to feel the same way, but then I realized even superheroes make mistakes.
Are you saying you're a superhero, Leo?
Well, my mom says I am.
That's sweet, Leo. But seriously, making mistakes is a natural part of learning.
Absolutely. And today, we're going to help our listeners turn their fear into motivation. Ready, Gwen?
Ready as always, Leo. Let's get started.
Gwen, why do you think people are so afraid of making mistakes when speaking English?
Well, Leo, it's common. People worry that mistakes will make them look silly.
That's true. I remember when I started learning English, I was scared of saying something wrong.
Exactly. This fear can stop people from practicing, which is the best way to improve.
So, how can we help our listeners overcome this fear?
First, understand that making mistakes is normal. No one speaks perfectly from the start.
Right. Even babies make mistakes when they're learning to talk. Imagine if they stopped trying.
Good point, Leo. Mistakes are helpful because they show us where to get better.
You know what? Sometimes making a mistake can be funny and make learning more fun.
Laughing at mistakes can make us more relaxed and ready to learn.
So, the takeaway is don't be afraid of mistakes. Embrace them as part of your journey to fluency.
Yes, everyone. Remember, every mistake is a step forward. Keep practicing and don't give up.
Gwen, I think many people worry about being judged when they speak English. What do you think?
You're right, Leo. Many people fear that others will think less of them if they make mistakes. This fear can be very discouraging.
Yeah, I remember being nervous about my accent and grammar. I always thought people were judging me.
It's common, Leo. But most people are more understanding than you think. Many appreciate the effort you're making to speak their language.
That makes sense. We are often our own worst critics.
To build confidence, focus on your progress, not just perfection. Celebrate small wins and improvements.
Right, Gwen. Also, surrounding yourself with supportive people helps. They provide positive feedback and encouragement.
Don't forget, it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. It's natural in learning and growing.
So true. Speaking another language is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time and practice to improve.
The more you practice, the more confident you become. Keep pushing yourself and don't let fear of judgment hold you back.
Gwen, another challenge is the lack of opportunity to practice speaking English. What do you think?
You're right, Leo. Without regular practice, fear and anxiety build up. It's crucial to find or create opportunities to practice.
I remember when I started learning, I was too shy to speak because I didn't have many chances to practice.
Practice builds confidence and reduces fear. The more you use a language, the more natural it becomes.
So, what can people do to create more practice opportunities?
There are several strategies. Joining a language club or group is a great way to practice regularly. You can also find language exchange partners.
I've heard of language exchange apps where you can talk to native speakers. That sounds good.
Yes, those apps are useful. They allow you to practice speaking with native speakers from all over the world.
What about online communities? Are they helpful too?
Definitely. Online communities and forums provide a supportive environment where you can practice writing and speaking in English.
Another good way is to practice with friends or family members who are also learning English.
Great point, Leo. Practicing with people you know makes you feel more comfortable and less anxious.
So the key is to keep looking for opportunities to practice, right?
Absolutely. Don't wait for opportunities, create them.
Afraid, meaning feeling fear or anxiety. Example, people are often afraid of making mistakes when speaking English. Practice, meaning repeated exercise in or performance of an activity or skill to acquire or maintain proficiency in it. Example, practicing every day can help you become more confident in speaking English. Improve, meaning to make or become better. Example, making mistakes is a natural part of learning and improving. Confident, meaning feeling or showing certainty about something. Example, the more you practice, the more confident you become. Opportunity, meaning a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. Example, it's important to find or create opportunities to practice speaking English. Gwen, I've noticed many people feel pressure to speak perfect English. Why do you think that is?
It's common, Leo. Many people think they must speak perfectly to be understood or respected. This pressure can make speaking harder.
That makes sense. When I started learning, I was so worried about making mistakes that I became more nervous.
The fear of not being perfect can hold us back. It's important to remember that mistakes are natural when learning.
So, what can we do to reduce this pressure and set realistic goals?
One good way is to focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate small victories and improvements instead of expecting perfection from the start.
I like that idea. Maybe we can break down our goals into smaller, manageable steps.
Absolutely, Leo. Setting small goals helps build confidence. For example, start with short conversations or practice specific phrases.
I practiced ordering food in English at restaurants. It was a small goal, but it helped me feel comfortable speaking.
That's a great example. Real-life practice in small situations is very helpful.
And we should be kind to ourselves when we make mistakes, right?
Definitely. Self-kindness is key. Remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes and that each one is a chance to learn.
Thanks, Gwen. That really helps put things into perspective.
You're welcome, Leo. Remember, the goal is communication, not perfection. Keep practicing and you'll improve.
Gwen, shyness can really make the fear of speaking English even worse, don't you think?
That's right, Leo. When you're shy, it's easy to worry about being judged or making mistakes, which can make speaking harder.
So, how can we overcome this shyness? Any tips?
One way is to start small. Practice speaking in low-pressure situations, like with close friends or family.
That makes sense. I practiced English with my cousin. It was less scary because I knew he wouldn't judge me.
Exactly, Leo. Another tip is to prepare in advance. Knowing what you want to say can make you feel more confident.
I often write down key phrases or sentences before a conversation. It helps me feel more prepared.
That's a great idea. Also, remember to breathe and take your time. Speaking slowly can reduce anxiety.
Sometimes I try to rush through my sentences because I'm nervous. But speaking slowly helps.
Yes, and don't forget to celebrate small successes. Each time you speak, no matter how small, is a step forward.
I remember the first time I ordered food in English. It was a small step, but it felt like a big win.
Building confidence takes time, so be patient with yourself.
Thanks, Gwen. These tips are really helpful.
You're welcome, Leo. Just keep practicing and remember that everyone feels shy sometimes.
Gwen, let's talk about some ways to practice speaking English. What are some good methods?
Sure, Leo. One good way is to join language clubs. These clubs give you a place to practice speaking with others.
I agree. I joined a language club, and it was a great way to meet people and practice speaking regularly.
Another good way is to use chat apps to talk with friends. Apps like WhatsApp or Skype are very helpful.
Yes, I use Skype to practice English with friends from other countries. It's easy and fun.
Also, try to find native speakers to practice with. They can give you quick feedback and help with pronunciation.
I practiced with a native speaker I met online. It really improved my speaking skills.
Exactly, Leo. It's also good to set goals for your practice. For example, focus on improving your vocabulary or pronunciation in each session.
That's a good point. I used to set goals like learning 5 new words or practicing a sound.
Another tip is to use online resources like language learning websites or apps. Many have speaking exercises and activities.
I love using apps like Duolingo. They make learning fun and interactive.
Finally, don't forget to be consistent. Practice regularly, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. Consistency is key.
Absolutely. I practice English every day, even if it's just for a short time.
That's great, Leo. With these ways, anyone can improve their speaking skills and become more confident.
Thanks for the tips, Gwen. I'm sure our listeners will find them very helpful. Gwen, I think it's important to celebrate small successes when learning English. What do you think?
Absolutely, Leo. Celebrating small successes builds self-esteem and confidence. It's a great way to stay motivated.
Yes, like when you complete a simple sentence, that's worth celebrating, right?
Even small achievements like saying a new word correctly or having a short conversation should be noticed.
So, how can we celebrate these small successes? Any ideas?
One way is to keep a journal of your progress. Write down every new word you learn and every conversation you have.
That's a great idea. It's like keeping a record of your achievements.
Yes, and you can reward yourself. Maybe treat yourself to something nice when you reach a goal.
I love that. It's like giving yourself a pat on the back for a job well done.
And don't forget to share your successes with friends and family. They can give more encouragement and support.
Let's keep celebrating our progress and stay motivated.
Perfect. Meaning having everything needed as good as possible. Example, people think they must speak perfect English to be understood. Mistakes, meaning something you do that is wrong. Example, people worry that mistakes will make them look silly. Confidence, meaning the feeling that you can trust yourself or someone else. Example, setting small goals helps build confidence. Celebrate, meaning to do something fun to show you are happy about something good. Example, celebrating small successes makes you feel good and builds confidence.
Well, Gwen, I think we've covered some great points today.
It's been a great session, and I hope our listeners feel inspired and motivated.
And remember, everyone, celebrating small wins is key to building confidence and staying motivated.
Yes, take each step one at a time and enjoy your progress.
We love hearing your stories and successes, so please share them with us on our social media or in the comments below.
Thank you for joining us today on Podcast and Chill. We can't wait to see you next time. Keep going and doing well.
And remember, no matter how small the step, it's a step forward. Celebrate each one.
Until next time, stay happy and keep learning. Goodbye, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone. You're tuning into another episode of Podcast and Chill. I'm Leo, always here to add a bit of laughter to your day.
And I'm Gwen, here to give you the best tips and tricks for your daily grind. Today we're diving into a topic that resonates with many of our listeners.
Yes, we're talking about the classic dilemma. I can understand English, but I can't speak it well.
It's a frustrating situation for many learners out there.
Absolutely, Gwen. But fear not, folks. We've got some great strategies to help you break through that barrier.
That's right. Speaking English fluently is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice and the right approach. So today, we're here to guide you on this journey and share some personal stories along the way.
Let's get started. And remember, it's all about taking small steps towards big improvements. So let's dive into this listening-speaking gap. Why do you think it exists, Gwen?
Great question, Leo. One main reason is the lack of practice. Many learners listen a lot, but don't get enough speaking practice.
That makes sense. Listening is passive, but speaking is active. You need to actually use the language to improve speaking skills.
Exactly, Leo. Another reason is the fear of making mistakes. This fear can stop people from speaking even if they understand everything.
I see. So it's like being afraid to jump into the pool because you think you might sink.
Absolutely. And there's also the issue of mental translation. Many learners translate from their native language to English in their heads, which slows down their speaking significantly.
That must be exhausting, constantly translating every sentence before you say it.
It is, Leo, and it prevents the kind of spontaneous conversation that fluent speakers have.
Makes sense. What about thinking speed? I've heard that's a big barrier too.
Right, you are. If your brain isn't trained to think quickly in English, it can be hard to keep up in a conversation.
So it's really about building that mental agility to switch between languages seamlessly.
Yeah, and that takes us back to the practice. The more you speak, the better your brain gets at processing and producing English naturally.
It's like working out, but for your brain.
Exactly, Leo. And just like muscles, it needs regular workouts to stay in shape.
So, Gwen, talking about breaking the silence, how do we start tackling this fear of speaking English?
Well, Leo, the first step is acknowledging the fear. Accept that it's okay to be scared, but don't let that stop you.
That's right, Gwen. It's like diving into a pool. The water might be cold at first, but you'll get used to it.
Exactly. And start with small steps. Maybe practice speaking English with friends or in front of a mirror.
I've heard about this mirror practice before. It sounds funny, but effective.
It is, Leo. It helps you see your own expressions and slowly builds confidence as you watch yourself improve.
And don't forget about recording yourself. Sometimes listening to your own voice can help you notice improvements or areas that need work.
True. Also, setting small, achievable goals can make the process less daunting. Like, today I'll learn 5 new words, or I'll start a conversation at the store.
Breaking it down like that makes it seem more manageable. What about embracing mistakes?
Absolutely essential, Leo. We learn from mistakes, not from being perfect. Embrace them as part of the learning curve.
Makes you think of them as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks.
Precisely. And remember, every conversation you start, even if it ends in a mix-up, is a victory.
I love that approach. It's turning the journey into something exciting and explorative rather than stressful.
Yes, and by speaking out, you're not only improving your language skills, but also your self-esteem.
So folks, remember, start small, embrace mistakes, and use every opportunity to practice. That's how you break the silence.
And soon enough, you'll find that fear of speaking becoming less and less significant.
Moving on, Gwen, let's dive into how our listeners can practice speaking daily. Even when they're alone, there's plenty to do, right?
Absolutely, Leo. A great way to start is by narrating your daily activities. Describe what you're doing as if you're in a documentary.
That sounds fun. So I could say something like, here we see Leo preparing his morning coffee, a crucial ritual for his productivity.
Exactly, Leo. And another method is to use technology. There are plenty of apps that allow you to talk and give you feedback.
Apps? Huh? Can they really replace talking to real people?
They can't replace human interaction, but they are a fantastic supplement, especially for pronunciation practice. Speaking of which, reading aloud is another excellent practice. It helps with both pronunciation and fluency.
So just grab a book and start reading? Any book will do?
Well, it's best to choose something at your level, and maybe something fun or interesting to you, so it doesn't feel like a chore.
What about talking to your pets? I bet they're great listeners.
Absolutely, Leo. Speaking to pets or even to plants can make the practice more entertaining and less stressful. And let's not forget the classic talking to yourself in the mirror. It's a great way to build confidence.
I do that all the time. Not just for English practice, honestly.
Well, that explains a lot, Leo. But seriously, folks, all these methods can help you integrate English speaking into your daily life without feeling too much pressure. So keep it fun, keep it regular, and soon you'll see the improvement.
All right, Gwen, let's talk about another fantastic tip, mimicking masters. What's that all about?
It's about learning from the best, Leo. Listening to native speakers and trying to imitate their pronunciation and intonation can really help.
Like trying to talk like a famous actor or a news anchor, right?
Exactly. You can choose someone whose English you admire and listen to how they speak. It's not just about copying, it's about understanding the rhythm and flow of the language.
And how can our listeners practice this, Gwen?
A good start is to watch videos or listen to recordings. Try to repeat after them, match their tone, and even their facial expressions.
So you're saying I should start talking like I'm presenting the evening news? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, if that helps you improve, why not? But remember, it's about learning the subtleties of pronunciation, not just mimicking for fun.
Got it. And it sounds like a lot of fun, actually. Could this help with learning slang and idioms too?
Absolutely. By mimicking native speakers, you not only learn standard pronunciation, but also pick up on casual language and cultural nuances that textbooks might not cover.
Documentary. Definition: a factual film or program about real events and people. Example: describe what you're doing as if you're in a documentary. Fluency. Definition: the ability to speak or write a language easily, smoothly, and expressively. Example: it helps with both pronunciation and fluency. Integrate. Definition: combine one thing with another so that they become a whole. Example: all these methods can help you integrate English speaking into your daily life. Supplement. Definition: something that is added to something else to improve it or complete it. Example: they can't replace human interaction, but they are a fantastic supplement. Mimicking. Definition: imitating someone's actions, speech, or mannerisms, especially to entertain, ridicule, or learn from them. Example: listening to native speakers and trying to imitate their pronunciation and intonation can really help. What is one method mentioned for practicing English speaking alone? One method mentioned for practicing English speaking alone is narrating daily activities. Describing what you're doing as if you're narrating a documentary, which helps integrate English speaking into daily life and makes the practice enjoyable and less pressured. What are some benefits of using technology for English speaking practice? Technology, particularly apps that allow you to talk and receive feedback, is a fantastic supplement for pronunciation practice. While it can't replace human interaction, it serves as a valuable tool for learners to practice speaking and receive immediate corrections or suggestions. which is essential for improving pronunciation skills. Moving on to another crucial aspect of mastering English, Gwen. Let's dive into the from passive to active strategy.
Sure, Leo. This is about turning passive exposure into active learning practices. It's vital for truly mastering a language.
Could you explain more about what passive language reception is?
Passive language learning is when you absorb the language through activities that don't require active speaking or writing, like listening to music, watching TV, or reading.
And active learning means?
It means engaging with the language through speaking, writing, or any form of output that forces you to use the language actively.
How can our listeners start making this transition?
One simple step is to start reflecting on what you listen to or read. Ask yourself questions about it and try to summarize it in English.
Sounds like turning every opportunity into a learning session.
Exactly. Also, instead of just listening passively, try to repeat phrases and even shadow speakers to practice pronunciation and intonation.
I guess turning on subtitles while watching shows could help too, right?
Definitely. It's a great way to connect spoken language with written words and helps reinforce learning.
What about turning passive book reading into active learning?
After reading a chapter, write a short summary or discuss it with friends in English. Even better, post your thoughts online to get feedback.
That sounds quite engaging and definitely pushes you to use English in a practical way.
Yes, and don't forget to actively learn vocabulary. Instead of just memorizing, use new words and sentences and try to use them in daily conversations.
That must make the learning process much more dynamic and memorable.
Absolutely, Leo. It's all about making your brain work actively with the language.
So, Gwen, let's talk about how to kickstart a conversation. This can really help our listeners engage with native speakers.
Absolutely, Leo. Initiating conversation is often the hardest part, but it's crucial for practicing your English.
What are some good conversation starters that our listeners could use?
One effective starter is asking about local food recommendations. It's something everyone loves to talk about.
That's true. Everyone has an opinion on where to find the best pizza or burger.
Another one is asking about what shows or movies they would recommend. It's a great way to learn about cultural preferences, too.
Sounds like it could lead to some interesting discussions.
Definitely. Discussing hobbies is also a great starter. You can ask, what do you like to do in your free time?
That could really open up the conversation. Plus, it's a great way to find common interests.
Asking about travel experiences is another good one. Have you traveled anywhere exciting recently?
People love sharing their travel stories. It might even give our listeners tips for their own travels.
Yes, and for those who are a bit shy, starting with a compliment can ease into a conversation gently, like commenting on a piece of clothing or a gadget.
That's a smooth way to get chatting. Just make sure it's genuine.
Right. And remember, the goal is to keep the conversation going. Use open-ended questions that require more than a yes or no answer.
Can you give an example of an open-ended question?
Sure, like asking, what did you think about the event last night? Instead of, did you go to the event last night?
That makes a lot of sense. It invites a story rather than a simple response.
Exactly. And don't forget, the more you practice these conversation starters, the easier they will become.
That's encouraging. Our listeners should definitely give these a try. Thanks for all these great tips, Gwen.
You're welcome, Leo. Remember, it's all about taking that first step and just starting the conversation.
Moving on to the most crucial aspect of speaking English confidence. Let's dive into why it's so essential.
Confidence isn't just about feeling good. It directly impacts how effectively we can communicate in a new language.
So, you're saying it's a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you believe you can speak well, you just might.
Exactly. When we feel confident, we're less likely to hesitate or second-guess ourselves, which leads to smoother and more fluent conversations.
But how does one build that confidence, especially if they're just starting out?
It starts with setting realistic goals. Don't expect to be perfect. Focus on progress and celebrating small victories.
Like understanding a full movie in English or having a conversation without translating in your head?
Right, those are great examples. And remember, each little step builds your confidence over time.
I suppose making mistakes is part of the process too, right?
Absolutely. Making mistakes and learning from them is key. It means you're trying, which is better than not speaking at all.
And getting feedback from others can help too, right?
Yes, feedback is incredibly valuable. It helps you understand what to improve and reinforces that you're on the right track.
Sounds like building confidence in speaking English is a lot about mindset and practice.
Exactly, Leo. It's all about embracing the journey and not being afraid to express yourself. The more you speak, the more natural it becomes.
That's very encouraging. It makes me want to go out and start chatting with everyone.
And you should, Leo. Every conversation is a step towards fluency. Crucial. Definition: extremely important or necessary. Example: moving on to another crucial aspect of mastering English, Gwen. Transition. Definition: the process or a period of changing from one state or condition to another. Example: how can our listeners start making this transition? Reflecting. Definition: thinking deeply or carefully about. Example: one simple step is to start reflecting on what you listen to or read. Engaging. Definition: charming and holding the interest or attention of. Example: that sounds quite engaging and definitely pushes you to use English in a practical way. Initiating. Definition: causing the beginning of something. Example: so, Gwen, let's talk about how to kickstart a conversation.
Well, folks, that wraps up today's episode on gaining confidence in speaking English. I hope you all feel a bit more inspired to go out and speak your mind.
Remember, everyone, speaking English fluently starts with believing in yourself and embracing every opportunity to practice.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more helpful tips and some good laughs with us every week.
And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to explore, send us a message. We love hearing from our listeners.
Until next time, keep practicing and stay confident. This is Leo and Gwen, signing off from Podcast and Chill.
Until next time, keep practicing and stay confident. Welcome, dear listeners, to another episode of our podcast. I'm Gwen, and joining me as always is my co-host, Leo.
Greetings, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you back with us.
I'm sure today's topic will resonate with many of our listeners. It's about the fear of speaking English.
That's right, Gwen. It's a common fear that holds many learners back from reaching their full potential.
But don't worry. Today, we'll explore this fear together and find ways to overcome it.
Let's start by understanding where this fear comes from. Many learners worry about pronunciation and making grammar mistakes.
Or perhaps it's the fear of judgment, of someone pointing out your accent or a slip-up.
These concerns can stem from a fear of being judged or not being understood.
The truth is, everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. It's all part of the learning process. Think about it. When you learn a new recipe, do you get it perfect the first time? Probably not. But with practice, you become better and better.
Absolutely, Gwen. By understanding the origins of our fear, we can begin to address it and move past it.
So, how do we overcome this fear and start speaking English with confidence?
One effective approach is to start with small steps. Instead of diving into conversations, start with simple exercises to build confidence gradually.
Right. Start out small. You could try talking to yourself in English, narrate your day, describe what you see around you.
Practicing pronunciation in front of a mirror is another common way to practice speaking English.
Recording your speech and listening back can also be an effective way to gain confidence.
That's a great point, Gwen. Taking these small steps allows us to practice without the pressure of immediate feedback.
Another powerful tool for improving your English speaking skills is listening. Listening to real-life conversations, audiobooks, or watching movies exposes you to diverse vocabulary and speech patterns. This not only enhances our understanding, but also boosts our confidence in speaking.
It's like learning the melody before attempting to sing the song.
Interesting comparison, Leo. By immersing yourself in the language, you'll naturally absorb pronunciation, grammar, and the flow of conversation.
Our podcasts are also a great choice.
Exactly. Our podcasts offer a wide range of topics and provide necessary vocabulary and tips for your learning journey.
Remember, the more you listen, the more comfortable you'll feel speaking. Now, let's talk about ways to practice speaking English.
There are so many options. One effective way is to join English study groups or conversation clubs. These groups provide a supportive environment for practicing your speaking skills and receiving valuable feedback.
The more opportunities you have to speak English in a supportive environment, the more comfortable and confident you'll become.
And remember, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Making errors is a natural part of the learning process, and it's through these mistakes that we grow and improve.
By embracing our mistakes, we can learn from them and gain confidence in our ability to communicate effectively in English. Let's go through some vocabulary relevant to learning. Address, meaning to give attention to or deal with a matter or problem. Example, we need to address the pressing issue of pollution. Approach, meaning a way of doing something. Example, Michael is always very logical in his approach. Narrate, meaning to describe events as they happen. Example, you should get Stuart to narrate our school days together. Exposure, meaning being in contact with or experiencing something. Example, you should always limit your exposure to the sun. Immerse, meaning to become completely involved in something. Example, she immersed herself in French novels for 2 hours. Is fear of speaking English solely related to language ability? Answer, no. It can also come from fear of judgment, lack of self-confidence, or negative past experiences, regardless of language skills. What are the most common reasons for being afraid to speak English? Answer, the 3 most common reasons for being afraid to speak English are fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood, and fear of making grammar mistakes.
One of the best ways to overcome the fear of speaking in English is to find a speaking buddy.
Exactly. Having a supportive environment to practice in can make all the difference. You can reach out to friends who are also learning English to practice speaking together.
Alternatively, you can find online language exchange partners through language learning platforms. You will enjoy a safe space where you can make mistakes and receive constructive feedback. This is also an effective way to boost your motivation in speaking English.
You got it right. By joining an English-speaking community, you will be surrounded by peers who are willing to enhance their skill. This kind of environment encourages healthy competition, as you will strive to showcase your speaking ability while supporting your companions.
Speaking of motivation, I think our listeners are eager to hear more. Learning to speak a language takes time and effort, and of course, there will be times when you feel discouraged to continue your journey.
Therefore, to stay motivated, it's important to set clear goals. Identify why you want to improve your speaking skills and how it will benefit you. Your goals can be as simple as having a fluent conversation with a native speaker or as ambitious as studying abroad.
Whatever your goal is, write it down, make it specific, and even put a timeline on it. By defining your goals, you will give yourself a sense direction, which can fuel your progress.
That's absolutely right, Gwen. And speaking of progress, that brings us to our final tip, celebrating your victories. Learning a language is a process, and it's easy to get caught up in the challenges.
However, it's important to appreciate the steps you take along the way. Did you master a new grammar point? Did you have a successful conversation with a stranger? High-five yourself.
And remember, learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. So be patient with yourself and celebrate every milestone along the way.
Let's go through some vocabulary relevant to learning. Supportive, meaning giving help and encouragement. Example, the teachers are very supportive of my project. Constructive, meaning useful and intended to help or improve something. Example, she criticized my writing, but in a way that was very constructive. Master, meaning to learn how to do something well. Example, he practiced until he mastered the technique. Ambitious, meaning having a strong wish to be successful, powerful, or rich. Example, she has some ambitious plans for her business. Discouraged, meaning having lost confidence or enthusiasm. Example, she felt discouraged after failing the test. Question, how to handle communication breakdowns while speaking English? Answer, it's important to stay calm and clarify the situation. You can ask for repetition, rephrase your statement, or use gestures to convey your message. Question, how to integrate the language learned from movies, TV shows, or music into our spoken English? Answer, actively listen to dialogues or lyrics, then imitate the pronunciation and intonation. Watch with subtitles to understand the context and new vocabulary. Afterwards, practice speaking aloud, imitating the characters' expressions.
And that brings us to the end of today's talk. If you're afraid to speak in English, remember that you're not alone. Succeeding in English speaking is a long journey, and with each step, you will grow and become more confident.
Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of our podcast. We hope these insights and strategies help you overcome your fear and embrace the joy of speaking in English. Don't forget to check the free PDF in the description for more useful vocabulary.
Goodbye, and we'll see you in the next episode. Welcome back to another episode of Podcast and Chill. I'm Leo, your cheerful host, and today we have an exciting topic to discuss.
Hi everyone, I'm Gwen. It's great to have you all here with us again.
Gwen, are you ready for today's topic?
Absolutely, Leo. Let's dive right in.
So today, we'll talk about how to learn English by yourself.
Interesting. Setting clear goals is very important when learning English by yourself.
Without goals, it's easy to feel lost or unmotivated.
Also, a SMART goal needs to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
For example, instead of saying I want to improve my English, you could set ASMART goal, like I will learn and use 10 new English words every day for the next month.
But when setting goals, we should know that there are short-term and long-term goals.
Can you explain what long-term and short-term goals are?
Sure, long-term goals give us a big picture. For example, becoming fluent in English for work or travel.
They are big things you want to achieve in the future.
Yes, and short-term goals are smaller, more immediate steps that help you reach your long-term goals.
Like learning grammar rules this month or practicing speaking skills next month.
Exactly. Short-term goals could also include things like reading one English book every 2 weeks or watching an English movie every weekend. Remember, it's also important to celebrate your progress and adjust your goals as you go.
This keeps you motivated and helps you stay on track. When, after setting our goals, what's next?
Next, we need to find the right resources to help us achieve those goals. Thankfully, There are many online resources available, both free and paid, that can make learning English easier and more enjoyable.
That sounds great. Can you give us some examples?
Sure, one of the most popular apps is Duolingo. It's free and covers a wide range of topics with fun, game-like lessons.
I've heard of Duolingo. It's really engaging and keeps you motivated with its point system.
Another great resource is BBC Learning English. They offer a variety of lessons and videos on grammar, vocabulary, and even British culture. It's a fantastic way to improve your skills with real-life examples.
I think having real-life context can really help make the language stick. What else do you recommend?
There's also Memrise. It's a great app that uses spaced repetition to help you remember new words and phrases. You can learn at your own pace and even compete with friends.
Competing with friends sounds like a fun way to stay motivated.
Exactly. And don't forget about YouTube channels like English Addict, which offer free lessons and tips on learning English. It's like having a personal tutor available anytime.
With so many resources, there's really no excuse not to practice and improve our English every day.
Absolutely, Leo. Utilizing these resources can make learning English more accessible, fun, and effective.
Gwen, can we talk more about YouTube? There are so many channels that help with learning English.
Of course, YouTube is a fantastic resource for learning English. There are channels for every learning style.
Can you recommend some good channels?
Sure. One great channel is English Speaking Course. They offer clear and simple lessons on everyday conversation. It's perfect for beginners.
That sounds helpful. What else do you suggest?
Another excellent channel is Learn English with Jessica. Jessica uses fun methods to teach grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. She makes learning enjoyable.
Jessica's lessons sound fun. Do you have any other recommendations?
There's Learn English Podcast. It's perfect for those who enjoy listening to podcasts. They cover various topics and real-life conversations, which helps improve listening skills.
Podcasts are great for listening practice. Do they also provide transcripts?
Yes, Leo, they provide transcripts, so you can read along while listening. It's a great way to improve both listening and reading skills.
With these channels, it feels like we have our own English teachers available anytime.
YouTube makes learning English accessible, interactive, and fun. There's always something new to learn.
Gwen, after setting goals and finding resources, how can we make sure we study consistently?
That's a great question, Leo. Creating a study schedule is key. It helps us stay organized and ensures we dedicate time to learning every day.
So, how do we start making a study schedule?
First, look at your daily routine and find a time slot that works best for you. It could be in the morning, afternoon, or evening. Choose a time when you are most alert and can focus well.
That makes sense. Should we study every day?
Yes, it's important to study a little bit every day rather than a lot at once. Consistency is key. Even 15-30 minutes a day can make a big difference.
What if we miss a day?
It's okay to miss a day sometimes. Just try to get back on track the next day. The goal is to create a habit of studying regularly.
Should we plan what to study each day?
Of course, planning what to study each day helps you stay focused. For example, you could practice vocabulary on Mondays, listening on Tuesdays, speaking on Wednesdays, and so on.
That sounds like a good plan. Can we also use online resources in our schedule?
Definitely. Incorporate online resources like Duolingo or BBC Learning English into your schedule. For instance, you can do a lesson on Duolingo every morning or watch a video on BBC Learning English in the evening.
Thanks, Gwen. With a good study schedule, it sounds like learning English can become a part of our daily routine.
Consistency and planning are the keys to success in learning any language.
Now, let's talk about practicing speaking English.
Practicing speaking is very important. Here are some tips to help you practice on your own. One simple way is to talk to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing or thinking.
That's a great idea, Gwen. Sometimes I pretend I'm hosting a show and talk about my day in English. It's fun and helpful.
Another tip is to record yourself speaking. Listen to the recording and see where you can improve.
And don't be too hard on yourself. It's about learning and getting better over time.
Using language exchange apps like HelloTalk or Tandem is also very effective.
Absolutely. You can practice with native speakers and make new friends from around the world.
And don't forget to join language clubs or online groups. Speaking with others regularly helps build confidence.
The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Goal. Definition: an aim or desired result. Example, setting clear goals is very important when learning English. Resources. Definition, materials, money, and other things that can be used. Example, we define the right resources to help us achieve those goals. Consistency. Definition, doing something the same way over time. Example, consistency is key in learning any language. Achieve. Definition, to successfully reach a desired objective or result. Example, planning what to study each day helps keep you focused and achieve your goals. Schedule. Definition, a plan that gives events or activities and the times that they will happen or be done. Example, creating a study schedule is key. Celebrate. Definition, to do something enjoyable because of a special occasion or success. Example, it's important to celebrate your progress. What online resources were mentioned in the conversation that can help with learning English? They mentioned Duolingo, BBC Learning English, Memrise, and YouTube channels like English Addict, English Speaking Course, Learn English with Jessica, and LAP Learn English Podcast. Why do Gwen and Leo think it's important to set both short-term and long-term goals when learning English? They say it's important because long-term goals give you a big picture and future targets like becoming fluent in English. Short-term goals are smaller and immediate, helping you reach the long-term ones, like learning grammar rules this month or practicing speaking next month. Now let's discuss immersing yourself in English.
Yes, Leo. Immersing yourself in English is crucial for improving your language skills.
Gwen, why is it so important to surround yourself with English?
When you're surrounded by English, you naturally start to think in English and improve your understanding. It's like when children learn their native language by being constantly surrounded by it. They hear it, see it, and use it every day.
Creating an English environment around us works the same way?
Exactly. By immersing yourself in English, you are giving your brain the chance to pick up the language naturally, just like a child learns their first language.
That makes sense. So, what are some ways to do this?
One effective way is to watch movies and TV shows in English. Try to watch with English subtitles to help with understanding.
I love watching comedies in English. They are fun and educational.
Another method is to listen to English music. Pay attention to the lyrics and try to sing along.
Yes, and reading books, articles, or blogs in English can also help a lot. It expands your vocabulary and understanding.
Absolutely. You can start with simple books or articles and gradually move to more complex materials as you improve.
And don't forget about online forums and groups. Joining English-speaking communities helps you practice and learn from others.
Yes, interacting with native speakers and other learners can boost your confidence and speaking skills.
So, the more you surround yourself with English, the faster you'll improve.
Immersing yourself in the language makes learning more natural and enjoyable.
Gwen, do you remember how we used to make flashcards in school?
Yes, flashcards are a classic method for learning and memorizing vocabulary.
And now with technology, we have apps that make this even easier and more effective.
Absolutely. Apps like Anki and Quizlet use flashcards, but add features like the spaced repetition system, or SRS.
SRS is great because it helps you review words just before you're likely to forget them, making your study sessions more efficient.
Right. By spacing out your reviews, you reinforce your memory at just the right times.
And using apps like Anki and Quizlet is so convenient. You can study on the go whenever you have a few spare minutes.
That's right, Leo. These apps also let you create your own flashcards or use sets made by other learners, which can save time and provide new learning perspectives.
So everyone, make sure to check out Anki, Quizlet, and other vocabulary apps. They're powerful tools to help you learn and remember English words more effectively.
Incorporate these tools into your daily study routine and see how much faster you can learn.
It's all about finding what works best for you and making the most of it. Gwen, one thing I've found really helpful is tracking my progress. Do you do that too?
Yes, Leo. Keeping track of your progress is essential. It helps you see how far you've come and keeps you motivated.
How do you track your progress, Gwen?
I use a study journal. Every day, I write down what I studied, what I learned, and any challenges I faced. It helps me reflect on my learning.
That sounds great. I also like to set milestones and celebrate when I reach them. For example, after learning 100 new words, I treat myself to something nice.
Celebrating milestones is a fantastic idea. It makes the learning process more enjoyable and gives you something to look forward to.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be something big. Even small rewards, like a favorite snack or a short break, can be motivating.
Another great way to track progress is using apps that monitor your learning activity. They can show you stats and graphs of your improvement over time.
Apps like Duolingo and Memrise have features that let you see your streaks and achievements, which is very motivating.
So everyone, start keeping a study journal and use tracking apps. Celebrate your milestones no matter how small.
It's all about recognizing your hard work and enjoying the journey. Keep pushing forward and rewarding yourself along the way.
Keep learning and celebrating everyone. Surround. Definition: to be all around something or someone. Example: when you're surrounded by English, you naturally start to think in English and improve your understanding. Environment. Definition: the surroundings or conditions in which a person, animal, or plant lives or operates. Example: creating an English environment works the same way as when children learn their native language. Improve. Definition: to make or become better. Example: when you immerse yourself in English, you are giving your brain the chance to pick up the language naturally and improve. Lyrics. Definition: the words of a song. Example: listen to English music, pay attention to the lyrics, and try to sing along. Confidence. Definition: a feeling of self-assurance arising from an appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. Example: interacting with native speakers and other learners can boost your confidence and speaking skills. Reward. Definition: a thing given in recognition of service, effort, or achievement. Example: celebrating milestones with small rewards, like a favorite snack or a short break, can be motivating. Why is it important to surround yourself with English according to Gwen? According to Gwen, it is important to surround yourself with English because it helps you naturally start to think in English and improve your understanding, similar to how children learn their native language by being constantly surrounded by it. What methods does Gwen suggest for immersing yourself in English? Answer: subtitles, listening to English music and paying attention to the lyrics, reading books, articles, or blogs in English, and joining English-speaking online forums and groups to practice and learn from others.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, folks. We hope you found our tips helpful and inspiring.
Remember, learning English is a journey, not a race. Set your goals, use the resources available, and most importantly, enjoy the process.
And don't forget to celebrate those small wins along the way. Every step forward is a step toward success.
We love hearing from you, so share your progress and experiences with us in the comments or on our social media.
And if you have any questions or topics you want us to cover, let us know. We're here to help you on your English learning journey.
Thanks for tuning in to Podcast and Chill. Until next time, keep striving and thriving.
Welcome to another episode of Podcast and Chill on the Learn English podcast channel. I'm Leo, your host, and joining me is my wonderful co-host, Gwen.
Hello, everyone. It's great to have you back. How's everyone's English journey going this week?
Mine's all right, but sometimes I just can't seem to think in English.
Don't worry, you're not alone. That feeling is super common, even for people who've been learning English for a long time.
Right? It's like your brain gets stuck in another language and English words just won't come out.
Exactly. But guess what? Today's episode is all about overcoming that problem. We'll talk about why it happens and share some great tips to help you start thinking in English more naturally.
Let's get started. So, let's talk about this problem. Why is thinking in English so hard?
Well, first, it's a habit. Our brains are used to thinking in the language we grew up with. It's just natural. Plus, when you're learning a new language, your vocabulary might not be big enough to express all your thoughts.
Absolutely. And finally, sometimes a lack of confidence can hold us back. We worry about making mistakes, so we might not want to think in English at all. But remember, everyone makes mistakes while learning.
So, what can we do? Don't worry, there are ways to train your brain. Let's start small. Try describing your day in English. Start simple. Try listing your daily tasks in English, like wake up, eat breakfast, or go to work.
What are you doing right now?
I'm sitting at a desk, talking into a microphone.
You can also describe things around you. Look at your desk and say, there's a pen, a notebook, and a lamp.
Even talking to yourself in English helps. Narrate your actions by saying, I'm putting on my shoes, or I'm opening the door. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel.
The other key is building your vocabulary. The more words you know, the easier it will be to think in English. There are lots of ways to learn new words, flashcards, apps, or even writing them down and using them in sentences.
This means you look at the cards again and again, but not too often. You look at them a little bit apart. This helps you remember the words better. You can find lots of information about this on the internet. It's really helpful.
It's important to start slowly and build up your word list. Try to use new words every day. If you do this, you will start to think in English more and more. It will feel natural. Let's look at some words related to today's topic. Overcome, meaning winning against a challenge. Example, she overcame her shyness and started talking to new people in her class. Express, meaning show or tell someone how you feel or what you think. Example, he expressed his happiness at learning a new word. Confidence, meaning feeling sure of yourself and your abilities. Example, speaking English in public gave her more confidence. Narrate, meaning telling a story or describing things around you. Example, the grandpa narrated exciting stories about his adventures. Benefit, meaning an advantage or a good result. Example, learning English has many benefits, like making new friends and traveling the world. Does confidence help with thinking in English? Yes, confidence helps. When you feel good about your English, you're more likely to use it in your head. This makes it easier to think in English over time. Is learning grammar different from thinking in English naturally? Yes, grammar rules are like instructions for building sentences. Thinking in English is like using those instructions to have a conversation. You can speak English without knowing all the rules. Do you have any tips for beginners in English, Gwen?
Of course, there is a method I really recommend for those who find it hard to think in English. It's called immersion. It means surrounding yourself with English all the time to learn it better. This means you try to listen, read, and speak in that language as much as possible. Start with things you enjoy. Read a simple story in English, maybe with pictures. Or listen to music you love with English lyrics. Singing along is a fun way to practice.
Movies are great too. Watch a familiar movie with English subtitles to connect the words with what's happening.
The more you listen, read, and watch in English, the more your brain gets used to the language.
Okay, so you are surrounded by English. But how do you start thinking in English? This is where talking helps. There are awesome apps like HelloTalk or Tandem where you can chat with native English speakers. It's like making a friend who can help you practice.
Don't forget about English clubs or online groups. Talking with real people in a friendly space is a great way to gain confidence and start thinking in English on the spot.
Remember, the key is to keep practicing. Even short conversations help your brain get used to forming thoughts in English. Learning a language takes time, like growing a strong, beautiful tree. You wouldn't expect a tiny seed to become a giant tree overnight, would you?
Exactly. So be patient with yourself. Be proud of yourself for the small wins. Did you understand a whole sentence today? That's a big deal. Did you ask for a coffee in English? Great job.
Even tiny steps forward are really important. Write down your journey. This can help you see how far you've come.
Looking back at your achievements, even the small ones, is a great way to see how far you've come. It shows that your hard work is paying off.
Reward yourself for doing well, even if it's just a tiny bit. This will help you want to keep learning English and make it fun.
Learning something new is hard. It's okay to make mistakes. Everyone does. Imagine a baby learning to talk. They don't understand everything right away. You're like that baby, but with bigger words.
Learning a language takes time. Some days will be easier than others. That's normal. Just keep practicing and you'll see improvement. Believe in yourself. With hard work, you'll reach your goals.
Let's look at some words related to today's topic. Subtitle, meaning lines or sentences at the bottom of a screen that show what the characters are saying. Example, he watched the movie with English subtitles to understand the whole conversation. Native, meaning someone or something that is from a particular place. Example, he is a native English speaker because he grew up speaking English at home. Achievement, meaning something good that you have done, which could be a success. Example, learning a new language is a great achievement. Patient, meaning being able to wait calmly without getting upset. Example, the teacher was patient with her students as they learned math. Reward, meaning something nice you give yourself or someone else for doing something good. Example, after finishing his homework, he rewarded himself with a game. Does translating everything in your head from your native language to English slow you down? Why? It's like having two conversations, one in your head and one in English. The more you practice English, the less translating you'll need to do and speaking will feel faster. Should we focus on perfection when it comes to thinking in English? Not at all. Everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language. Focus on getting your message across, even if it's not perfect. The more you speak, the better you'll become.
So, listeners, don't be upset if you can't think in English right away. Keep practicing, celebrate your wins, and soon you will be thinking in English with confidence.
Thank you all for being a part of this podcast's episode. Don't forget to check the free PDF in the description for more useful vocabulary. Goodbye, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Podcast and Chill. I'm Leo, here with my co-host Gwen.
I'm Gwen. We're so glad you're here with us today. If you're learning English, you know that listening is one of the most important skills to develop. It's how you understand what people are saying, how you learn new words, and even how you improve your pronunciation.
That's right, Gwen, but we also know that listening can be hard, especially when you're just starting out. Sometimes it's difficult to catch every word or understand what you hear.
But don't worry, we're here to help.
Yes, in this podcast episode, we'll share simple and effective tips to help you become a better listener.
So, today we'll give you some tips to make learning easier.
Let's start with our first tip. Start with simple content.
Yes, when you're learning, it's good to begin with listening content that is easy to understand. If it's too difficult, you might feel frustrated and want to give up. So, start with something simple. For example, you can listen to songs. Choose songs with clear lyrics and a slow pace.
There are many popular songs that are easy to understand. Another good option is cartoons. Cartoons often use simple language and clear speech. Plus, they're fun to watch.
That's true, Leo. And short conversations are also great. You can find many short videos or podcasts with basic conversations. They help you get used to everyday English.
Gwen, do you have any favorite simple listening content?
I love listening to children's stories. They're usually slow and easy to follow. Plus, the stories are interesting.
That's a great choice. For me, I enjoy watching short cartoons. They're funny and I can learn new words easily.
That's awesome, Leo. So listeners, remember to start with simple content. It makes learning fun and not too hard.
Next, we're going to share another great tip using subtitles and transcripts. Subtitles and transcripts can really help you understand what you're listening to.
But what are they, Leo?
Good question, Gwen. Subtitles are the words you see on the screen when you watch a video or a movie. They help you read along while you listen.
And transcripts are a written version of everything that is said in a video, podcast, or even a song. It's like having the words on paper.
Exactly. When you start using subtitles, it's a good idea to use English subtitles. This helps you connect the words you hear with the words you read.
Yes, that's important. It helps you learn new words and how to pronounce them. But don't forget, the goal is to understand without subtitles.
Right. So after you feel more confident, try to watch without subtitles. It might be hard at first, but it's great practice.
And if you don't understand something, you can always go back and turn on the subtitles or look at the transcript.
Gwen, do you have any tips for using subtitles?
I think it's good to watch something with English subtitles first, and then watch it again without subtitles. This way, you can test how much you understand.
That's a great tip. And don't worry if you don't catch every word. It's normal. Just keep practicing, and you'll get better.
Exactly.
Let's look at some new words in the conversation above. Improve, meaning to make something better. Example, you can improve your English by practicing every day. Understand, meaning to know what something means. Example, it's important to understand what people are saying. Language, meaning a way of speaking and writing that people use to communicate. Example, English is a very popular language around the world. Simple, meaning easy to understand or do. Example, start with simple materials when learning a new language. Practice, meaning to do something many times to get better at it. Example, you need to practice speaking English to get better. What is the first tip for improving listening skills in English? Answer. The first tip is to start with simple content. You can listen to songs, cartoons, and short conversations that are easy to understand. How can subtitles and transcripts help you improve your listening skills? Answer. Subtitles help you see the words while you listen, and transcripts show you the written word. They help you learn new words and how to pronounce them. Gwen, can you share some tips for listening actively? I've heard a lot about this method.
Yes, listening actively means paying close attention to what you hear. It's more than just hearing the words. It's about understanding them.
Oh, one way to listen actively is to focus on what you're listening to. Find a quiet place where you can really pay attention without distractions.
Another way to listen actively is to take notes. While you listen, write down key vocabulary, phrases, or ideas. This helps you remember what you heard.
That's a good tip, Gwen. When you take notes, you can also write down words you don't understand. Later, you can look them up in a dictionary or ask someone.
Yes, asking questions is very important. If you don't understand something, ask. You can ask your teacher, a friend, or even use the internet to find the answer.
And don't be afraid to pause the video or audio. Stop and think about what you just heard. It's okay to take your time.
That's right, Leo. Also, after listening, try to summarize what you heard. This means saying or writing the main points in your own words. It's a great way to check your understanding. Besides that, podcasts and audiobooks are great because you can listen to them anywhere, on the bus, while walking, or even at home.
That's right. And they're a fun way to learn because you can choose topics that you like.
Exactly. For beginners, it's good to start with podcasts and audiobooks that are easy to understand. Here are some that we recommend.
One great podcast is the Learn English podcast. You can find it on YouTube, and it has many different topics that you can choose from. It's designed for English learners, and the host speaks clearly, so it's easy to follow.
That's right. You can learn vocabulary related to different topics and contexts. For example, there are episodes about travel, daily life, and even cooking.
And because the podcast covers many topics, you can learn new words and phrases in different situations. This helps you understand English better in real life.
Yes, LEP is really good. The host also explains words and phrases, which helps you learn new vocabulary while listening.
Exactly, Gwen. For example, if you're interested in food, you can listen to episodes about cooking. You'll learn words and phrases that are useful in the kitchen.
Or if you like traveling, you can find episodes about different countries and cultures. It's like learning and traveling at the same time.
So, listeners, if you want to improve your vocabulary and listening skills, we highly recommend the Learn English podcast. It's a great way to learn English while exploring many interesting topics.
And remember, the more you listen, the more you'll improve. So, find a topic you like and start listening today. Let's look at some words related to learning. Attention, meaning the act of focusing on something or someone. Example, find a quiet place where you can really pay attention without distractions. Distraction, meaning something that makes it difficult to focus on what you're doing. Example, it's hard to listen actively if there are too many distractions around you. Summarize, meaning to give a brief statement of the main points of something. Example, after listening, try to summarize what you heard in your own words. Quiet, meaning making little or no noise, calm and peaceful. Example, the library was very quiet, so I could hear the ticking of the clock. Recommend, meaning to suggest that someone do something or that something is good or suitable. Example, we highly recommend the LEP. Learn English podcast for improving your listening skills.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Remember, the more you listen, the more you'll improve.
Exactly. So, find a topic you like and start listening today. Whether it's food, travel, or daily life, there's a podcast out there for you.
We hope these tips help you on your English learning journey. Keep practicing and don't forget to check out the LEP, Learn English podcast for more listening practice.
Thanks for joining us. We'll be back with more tips and advice in our next episode.
Welcome back to Podcast and Chill, everyone. We're happy to have you with us again in this episode.
Yes, welcome back. Today, we have a very important topic to discuss. It's all about thinking and speaking in English.
Oh, that sounds fun. I bet it's going to help a lot of people. But Gwen, don't you think it might be a little hard too?
It might be, Leo, but with the right tips and practice, anyone can do it. We'll guide our listeners step by step.
Absolutely. So let's get started, shall we?
Yes, let's get right into it. So let's begin with the first tip. It's all about starting with simple thoughts.
Simple is good. But what do you mean by simple thoughts, Gwen?
Well, Leo, it's like thinking about your daily tasks in English. For example, you can list what you need to do today in your head, but in English.
Oh, I see. Like, I need to buy groceries or I'm making breakfast. That should be easy enough.
Yes, or you can say what you're doing right now. Even short sentences help you get used to thinking in English.
Or just start with what's around you.
Yes, for example, look around your room. Can you name the objects in English? Maybe you see a table, chair, or window. Start by saying these words out loud.
And if you don't know the English word, that's okay. Just look it up. That's how you learn.
The key is to make it a habit. Every time you see something, think about how to say it in English.
Don't worry if it feels slow at first. It gets easier with practice and soon it will feel normal.
Another good way to think in English is to use it all day.
Yes, it's not just about learning English in a classroom. You can bring English into everything you do.
For example, when you read the news, try reading it in English. There are many websites and apps that offer news in simple English.
Oh, and don't forget about music and movies. Listening to English songs or watching English shows is a fun way to practice too.
Yes, that's a great idea. When you listen to English songs, try to catch the words and phrases. Even if you don't understand all the words, focus on the chorus or repeated lines.
And if you watch movies or TV shows, start with subtitles in your language. But when you get better, switch to English subtitles or try without them. Pay attention to how people talk in everyday situations.
You can even repeat what the characters say, just like shadowing. It's a good way to practice speaking and get used to natural conversations.
Also, it's more fun when you learn through things you like your favorite songs or movies. You won't even feel like you're studying.
Or when you're making plans for your day, think about them in English.
Like, what will I have for lunch? Or what time is my meeting?
Yes, and you can also ask yourself questions in English. If it's a sunny day, think, how's the weather? And answer, it's sunny and warm.
It's like having a little conversation with yourself. It might sound funny, but it really helps.
The more you use English every day, the more comfortable you'll be. It's about making English a part of everything you do.
And don't forget to have fun with it. The more you enjoy the process, the faster you'll improve. Okay, let's move on to the next tip. This one is simple but super effective. Practice speaking out loud, even if you're alone. I know it sounds a bit silly, right?
It might sound silly, but it's actually very important. Speaking out loud makes your brain think in English and helps you get used to speaking. It's also a good way to get confident because the more you do it, the more normal it feels.
Imagine you're walking around your house. You can describe what you're doing in English. I'm cleaning the dishes, or I need to water the plants. These small actions help make a habit of thinking in English. You can also pretend you're having a real conversation. For example, let's say you're in front of a mirror. Try introducing yourself or talking about your day. Hi, I'm Leo. Today I went shopping and learned something new. It's like playing a role and gets your brain used to thinking in full sentences.
Another idea is to pick a topic like your favorite movie or hobby and just talk about it out loud. Describe why you like it, what you find interesting, and how it makes you feel. You're practicing saying your ideas clearly, which is important when learning a language.
And if you can't think of some words or phrases, don't worry. You can check them later and try using them again later. The goal isn't to be perfect, but to keep practicing. Every time you speak out loud, you're helping your brain think faster in English.
Also, you can do this practice anytime and anywhere. The more you do it, the easier. It gets to express your thoughts in English naturally. Over time, it helps with both fluency and confidence. So, start small and let your voice help you. Groceries. Pronunciation, groceries. Definition, things you buy from a store to eat or use at home, like food and cleaning products. Example sentence, she went to the store to buy groceries like bread, milk, and eggs. Chorus. Pronunciation, chorus. Definition, the part of a song that is sung again and again, usually by everyone. Example sentence, everyone sang the chorus of the song together. Subtitles. Pronunciation, subtitles. Definition, words at the bottom of a movie or TV show that tell you what the characters are saying in another language. Example sentence, the movie had English subtitles, so she could understand what the characters were saying in French. Fluency. Pronunciation, fluency. Definition, being able to speak a language easily and smoothly. Example sentence, he spoke English with fluency, so he could have a conversation without any problems. Confidence. Pronunciation, confidence. Definition, believing in yourself and your abilities. Example sentence, she had confidence in her English, so she wasn't afraid to speak in front of the class. What is one simple way to start thinking in English according to Gwen? One simple way to start thinking in English is by listing your daily tasks in English. How can practicing speaking out loud help you improve your English? Practicing speaking out loud helps your brain get used to thinking in English and makes you more confident in speaking.
Now, let's talk about a really good tip, learning common phrases. It's like having a small set of helpful sentences you can use all the time.
That's true. When you learn common phrases, it's easier to speak English because you don't need to think so much. You can respond quickly without worry.
For example, if you're at a coffee and the person asks, "What would you like?" you can simply say, "I'll have a coffee, please." Or if you meet someone, you can say, "Nice to meet you." These phrases are easy, but very helpful.
Yes, and there are more phrases to learn. For example, if you don't understand something, you can say, "Can you say that again?" Or, "Sorry, I didn't hear you." These make conversations easier.
Also, don't forget polite phrases. Simple ones like "thank you," "you're welcome," and "excuse me" are important. They show respect and help you speak better. Another useful phrase is, "How do you say this in English?" It's great when you need to ask for the English word for something.
Yes, you can learn phrases for things you do often. If you travel, you can say, "Where is the nearest train station?" Or, "How much does this cost?"
The more phrases you know, the easier it is to think in English, because you're not always searching for the words. It's like having shortcuts for your brain. So start with a few phrases and use them every day.
And remember, practice is key.
Oh, Gwen, this just came to my mind. Have you heard of the shadowing technique? It's really interesting.
Yes, shadowing is a powerful way to practice English. It means you listen to a native speaker and you repeat what they say right away. You try to match their speed tone and how they say the words.
Exactly. It's like you're their shadow copying everything. It's great because you learn the natural way people speak.
You don't need to start with long sentences. You can start small. Listen to a short sentence, then repeat it.
You can do shadowing with your favorite movie lines, songs, or anything you enjoy.
One good tip is to choose something at your level. Don't start with something too difficult.
Pick simple videos or podcasts at first, then slowly move to harder ones as you get better.
And it's okay to repeat the same sentence a few times.
The more you repeat, the more natural it feels. The important is that now you start to pick up the rhythm and flow of English.
It's not just about the words, but how you say them.
So, if you want to speak more naturally and confidently, try shadowing. You know what really helps you think and speak in English? Talking with real people. It's not enough to just study by yourself. You need to actually have conversations.
Yes, that's true. It's the best way to learn because it's natural and helps you feel more confident. Even if you make mistakes, you're learning.
Talk with friends who speak English or join online groups where people chat in English. Even short conversations can make a big difference.
If you don't have many English-speaking friends, there are online platforms where you can find language partners. You can meet people from all over the world who also want to practice English. It's a fun way to learn and connect with others.
You can even join English-speaking clubs or events.
One more tip to help you think and speak in English is reflecting regularly. Every day, take a moment to write down or record your thoughts in English. It's like keeping a small diary, but in English.
That's a great idea. You don't need to write a lot, just a few sentences like, "Today, I went to the park. It was sunny. I felt happy." Simple but effective. Yes, and the best part is you can track your progress.
You'll notice that you start using more words, and your sentences become more natural.
And if you record yourself, you can hear how you sound. You might practice your pronunciation or try to speak more smoothly. And don't worry about making mistakes. The goal is to express yourself.
Another idea is to set small goals in your reflection. For example, tomorrow I want to practice using new words, or I will try to speak more confidently. This helps you stay focused and motivated.
Spend 5-10 minutes each night reflecting in English is a great way to end the day. And build your skills at the same time. Phrase, pronunciation, phrase, definition, a small group of words that are often used together to express an idea. Example, sentence, learning common phrases helps you speak English more easily. Polite. Pronunciation, polite. Definition, showing good manners or being respectful to others. Example sentence. It's important to use polite phrases like thank you and excuse me. Shadowing. Pronunciation, shadowing. Definition, a technique where you listen to someone speaking and repeat what they say immediately. Example sentence, shadowing helps you improve your pronunciation and speaking rhythm. Confidently. Pronunciation, confidently. Definition, in a way that shows you believe in yourself and your abilities. Example sentence, if you practice a lot, you will speak English more confidently. Reflecting. Pronunciation, reflecting. Definition, thinking carefully about something, often to learn or improve. Example sentence, reflecting on your day in English helps you practice and remember new words. Why is learning common phrases helpful when speaking English? Learning common phrases is helpful because it makes it easier to speak English without having to think too much, allowing you to respond quickly. What is the shadowing technique? The shadowing technique involves listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say right away, matching their speed, tone, and pronunciation.
We've some great tips today on how to start thinking and speaking in English. Remember, it's all about taking small steps and practicing daily. With patience and consistency, you'll notice real progress.
That's right. Don't be too hard on yourself. Enjoy the process, have fun, and celebrate every little improvement you make. Learning a language should be exciting, not stressful.
Exactly. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and don't forget to reflect on what you've learned each day. You're on the right path.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We hope you found today's episode helpful. Keep pushing forward, and soon you'll be thinking and speaking in English with confidence.
We're cheering for you, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care and keep learning.
See you next time on Podcast and Chill. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Learn English podcast. I'm Leo.
And I'm Gwen. It's great to see you all again.
We're very excited to talk with you today about learning new words.
If you've ever had trouble remembering a word you just learned, you're not alone. It happens to all of us. But don't worry. Today, we're going to talk about why this happens and share some tips to help you remember new words.
So grab a cup of tea, sit back, and get ready to improve your language learning with us. Let's talk about today's interesting topic, why you can't remember new words. Today, we're going to talk about something that can be really hard for many people learning English. Remembering new words.
Remembering new vocabulary can be a big challenge, even for people at the A2 level. There are a few main reasons why this happens.
One of the biggest reasons is the differences between English and our own languages. The grammar and words in our native languages are often very different from English. This can make it hard to connect the new English words to the ones we already know.
Right. For example, the way we build sentences or the meanings of certain words may be completely different. In some languages, the sentence structure is very different from English. Things like word order and how adjectives are used can make it hard to connect the new English words to what we already know.
And the meanings of words don't always directly translate either. A word in our native language might have multiple meanings that don't exist in the English. This disconnect makes it harder to remember the new English vocabulary.
Another big problem is not getting enough repetition and review of the new vocabulary. If we only see or use a new word once or twice, it's easy for it to slip out of our memory.
We need to review the new vocabulary regularly and use the words in lots of different ways like flashcards, reading, and conversations. They're all crucial for remembering it in our long-term memory.
The final reason is that we might be trying to learn in a way that doesn't work well for us. Everyone has their own best way of learning, and if we're not using the right methods, it can be very hard to remember the words.
That's a great point. Some people do better with flashcards, while others prefer listening to the words or writing them out. Finding the right way for us as individuals is key.
So to sum it up, the main causes of difficulty in remembering new vocabulary for English learners are language differences, not enough practice and review, and using the wrong learning methods.
Let's look at some life-related words. 1. Ability, meaning the power or skill to do something. Example, this program has the ability to adapt to its user. 2. Explanation, meaning a reason given to explain why something happened. Example, the most likely explanation is that his plane was delayed. 3. Personality, meaning the combination of characteristics that make someone unique. Example, his wife has a strong personality. 4. Goal, meaning something that you want to achieve. Example, you need to set yourself some long-term goals. 5. Positive, meaning having good or beneficial qualities. Example, the contributions have a positive impact on the lives of hundreds of children.
In our previous part, we talked about some of the main reasons why memorizing new vocabulary can be so challenging.
That's right, Gwen. But the good news is, there are some great strategies we can use to improve our vocabulary memory.
Exactly, Leo. One of the most important things is to try using the new words in real-life situations.
Absolutely. When we actually apply the new vocabulary in our daily lives, or imagine how we could use the words, it helps remember them better.
For example, if you learn the word borrow, you could practice asking a friend to borrow a pen, or imagine yourself borrowing a book from the library.
Exactly. Connecting the new words to real experiences makes them much more memorable than just studying them in isolation.
Another really effective approach is using multisensory learning methods. This means engaging multiple senses when you're practicing new vocabulary.
So that could involve listening to the words in songs or podcasts, speaking them out loud in conversations or stories, writing them down in a journal, and reading them in books or articles.
Exactly. By using your eyes, ears, mouth, and hands, you're creating stronger connections in your brain to help you remember the new words. These techniques can be really fun and engaging too.
Absolutely. Learning new vocabulary doesn't have to be dry and boring. In fact, the more enjoyable you can make it, the more likely you are to stick with it.
Moreover, one of the most important things is to create a regular review plan for the new words you're learning.
Exactly. Set up a schedule to go over the vocabulary repeatedly using a method called spaced repetition.
Yes, the spaced repetition approach means reviewing the words at increasing intervals. So, first after a day, then a few days, then a week, and so on. This really helps remember them in your long-term memory.
And there are even special apps and programs, like Anki and Quizlet, that can help you manage this spaced repetition process automatically. Using language learning tools and apps can be super helpful for staying on top of regular vocabulary review. These tools make it easy to create flashcards, quizzes, and other activities to practice the new words you're learning.
Exactly. And the final key strategy is to try connecting new vocabulary to words and ideas you already know.
Yes, when you can link the new words to things in your existing knowledge, it helps your brain hold on to them better.
Right. For example, if you're learning the word borrow, you could connect it to the word lend, which you might already know. Or you could imagine borrowing an object from a friend.
Great example, Gwen. Making those kinds of connections creates a stronger network in your memory. So in summary, the 3 additional strategies are creating a regular review plan, using language learning tools, and connecting new words to your existing knowledge.
Let's look at some life-related words. 1. Retain, meaning to continue to have, to keep possession of. Example, practicing new vocabulary regularly can help you retain the words in your long-term memory. 2. Strengthen, meaning to make or become stronger. Example, using different ways to learn can strengthen your ability to remember new words. 3. Schedule, meaning a plan for carrying out a process or procedure, giving lists of intended events and times. Example, creating a regular review schedule is an important strategy for improving your memory. 4. Algorithm, meaning a process or set of rules to be followed in calculations or other problem-solving operations. Example, the algorithm used by learning apps helps optimize the spaced repetition of vocabulary. 5. Network, meaning a group or system of interconnected people or things. Example, connecting new words to words you already know creates a stronger network in your memory.
And that's it for today's talk about why you can't remember new words. We hope you found our chat helpful in understanding why it's tough to remember new words.
Yeah, learning new words can be tricky sometimes, but don't worry if you're finding it hard. It's totally normal.
Exactly. Just take it slow and don't give up. Keep trying, and you'll get there eventually.
And remember, there are lots of ways to help you remember new words, like using them in sentences or practicing them regularly.
Right. And if you ever need help or feel stuck, there are plenty of people and resources out there to support you.
So, keep practicing and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, everyone. This is the 8-Minute English Podcast series on the Learn English Podcast channel. I am Nathan, your host, and I am so excited to have you on our podcast today. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever listened to a native speaker and thought, wow, I wish I could speak that naturally? Imagine being able to order your favorite burger without stuttering, or being able to chat with people from different countries without missing a beat. That natural fluency is the dream for many English learners, isn't it? There are some key things you can do to speak English smoothly and naturally. So get ready to dive in. We're about to explore some practical tips to help you on your fluency journey. The first tip to speaking like a native is to immerse yourself in the language. It's like diving into a pool of English words and phrases. Try to hear and see English as much as possible. Watch movies, listen to music, read books, and have conversations with English speakers whenever you can. And talk to people in English every day, even if it is just for a little while. Surround yourself with the language, and it'll become second nature. Another useful tip to learn English speaking is simply talking in English with native speakers or anyone you know that can speak English well. But this way can be difficult if you don't live in an English-speaking country. There are some great ways to find native speakers online or in your local community. You can join language clubs or use apps like Tandem or HelloTalk to connect with native speakers from around the world. They can help you with your pronunciation, idioms, and even teach you some cool slang words. Imagine this, you're chatting with a native speaker and they say, "Hey, that's lit." Instead of panicking, you'll be like, "Oh, I know what that means." It means something is really cool or awesome. And then you'll high five with the speaker and carry on with the conversation like a true native. Let's talk about pronunciation and intonation. These are the keys to sounding like a native speaker. You can have perfect grammar and a huge vocabulary, but if your pronunciation is wrong, it'll be hard for people to understand you. And intonation, that's what gives your speech that natural rhythm and flow. So here's what you need to do. Listen to native speakers as much as you can. Watch movies, TV shows, and podcasts in English. Pay attention to how they say words and how their voices go up and down. Then practice, practice, practice. When you watch English speakers, pay attention to how they use their hands and face to express themselves. Try to copy this when you speak. Also, try to use contractions more often. Instead of saying I am, say I'm. Instead of do not, say don't. This will make your speech sound more natural and fluent. Another important tip is to learn the common phrases and expressions that native speakers use. For example, instead of saying, I don't know, you can say, dunno. This helps you sound more like a native speaker. Practice speaking with a natural rhythm. Native speakers often connect words and don't pause between them. Try to imitate this flow by listening to native speakers and repeating after them. Use fillers like, when you speak. Native speakers use these fillers naturally when they are thinking or pausing. Adding these to your speech can make you sound more like a native. Finally, try to learn the different accents and slang used in different English-speaking countries. This will not only make you sound more like a native, but also help you understand the language better. Next up, let's talk about slang and idioms. These are the spices that make English so flavorful and fun. Native speakers love to use phrases like piece of cake, hit the sack, and hang in there. Learning these expressions will help you sound more natural and cool. So, start listening to them in movies and TV shows, and don't be afraid to use them in your conversations. And last but not least, you need to adopt a learning method that works best for you. One great technique that I highly recommend is called shadowing. It's basically when you try to copy the speech of native speakers. It's like having a conversation with them, but you're just repeating what they say. It might feel a bit silly at first, but trust me, it works wonders. Another fun way to practice your speaking skills is by using short film clips. You can find plenty of these on channels like Learn English with Jessica and English Speaking Course. They offer exercises where you can practice your speaking skills by shadowing and doing duet exercises with the videos. Now, I know what you're thinking, but won't I sound like a robot if I just repeat what others say? Not at all. The more you practice, the more natural and smooth your speech will become. Let's talk about some important words related to this episode's topic. Stutter is the first word. When you stutter, your speech isn't smooth. It might sound like you're stuck on a word, or you might repeat sounds. Stuttering could be a sign that language learners are not confident enough. Next, we have fluent. If you're fluent in a language, you can speak it smoothly and easily, like water flowing. The more you listen to English and practice speaking it, the more you become fluent at it. The third word is immerses. To immerse yourself in something means to surround yourself with it completely. Immersing yourself in the English language is probably one of the most popular ways of learning English. Let's move on with slang. Slang is an informal language that's often used by a particular group of people. It can be words, phrases, or even ways of pronouncing words. For example, cool is slang for good or excellent. And finally, relatable. If something is relatable, it means it's easy to connect with or understand. You can see yourself in the situation or you've had a similar experience. Understanding English but not being able to speak English fluently is a relatable experience for many learners. Before wrapping up the episode, let's explore some of the fun facts about the English language. Did you know that English is the only major language that doesn't have any organization to regulate it? Unlike French or Spanish, there's no official academy that decides what's correct or incorrect in English. This means that English is constantly evolving and changing. New words and expressions are added all the time. For example, words like selfie, binge watch, and hangry have all become popular in recent years. So, as you learn and practice English, remember that it's a living, breathing language. Don't be afraid to embrace the changes and have fun with it. Believe it or not, the letter J is actually the newest member of the English Alphabet Club. Back in the day, there were even more letters, 29 to be exact. The Latin alphabet, which English uses, didn't have a J at all. English is a growing language, like a giant word tree that keeps adding new branches. Every year, around 4,000 new words are added. With all this growth, it's no wonder there are over 1 million words in the English language. Don't worry though, most people don't use all the words. Most English speakers use around 20,000 words regularly, like hello, friend, and pizza. There are another 40,000 words we might understand when we hear them, but maybe we don't use them ourselves. There you have it, folks. A simple, effective way to start speaking like a native. Remember, practice makes perfect, and most importantly, have fun. Until next time, keep practicing and happy speaking. Welcome back, everyone. You're tuning into another episode of Podcast and Chill. I'm Leo, always here to add a bit of laughter to your day.
And I'm Gwen, here to give you the best tips for you. Today, we're diving into a topic that our listeners all need.
Many people learning English want to be able to communicate fluently like native speakers. However, this requires time and effort.
In this podcast, we'll share useful tips to help you get closer to speaking like a native.
Let's get started.
A great way to learn how native speakers talk is by listening and repeating.
Right. Find simple conversations from beginner English books or videos. What's next, Gwen?
It's listening carefully to the pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. Then mimic exactly what you hear.
Let's do a quick example.
Sure. Let's listen. I'll ask, and Leo will respond with a sentence.
Okay.
Excuse me, do you know where the nearest bus stop is?
Sure. Just go ahead, turn left, and you will see it.
Now, everyone, repeat after me. Excuse me, do you know where the nearest bus stop is? Sure. Just go ahead, turn left, and you will see it.
Good job.
Let's learn simple, common phrases that native speakers use often. This will make your English sound more natural.
Exactly, Gwen. Phrases like sounds good or that's awesome are super useful in everyday conversations. What do you think, Gwen?
Absolutely, Leo. Here are a few more for everyone. Sounds good. It's a casual way to agree with someone. Could you give me a hand? You can use it as a polite way to ask for help.
If you give someone a hand and they thank you, reply with no worries, to show it was no problem.
Let's practice. Imagine you're planning an event with a friend. Can you bring some drinks to the party? Your friend, sure, no worries. Watching children's shows is a great way to learn because they use simple, clear language.
Shows like Bluey or Dora the Explorer are great examples. They're entertaining and educational.
Totally agree, Leo. Here's what you can do. Firstly, choose a show. You need to find a children's show in English. The next step is watching and listening. Please pay attention to how characters speak and the words they use. Then, try to repeat the sentences and mimic the character's pronunciation.
Let's try it with a line from Dora the Explorer. Dora, come on, let's go explore. Repeat after me. Come on, let's go explore. Keep practicing, and soon you'll be speaking as clearly as your favorite characters. Mimic. Definition: to copy the sounds or movements of other people. Example: my son mimics my words to practice speaking. Intonation. Definition: the sound changes produced by the rise and fall of the voice when speaking. Example: you need to adjust your intonation to speak naturally. Entertaining. Definition: funny and enjoyable. Example: this is an entertaining movie. Require. Definition: to need something or to make something necessary. Example: we're required to check your identification before letting you in. Polite. Definition: being respectful, showing good manners. Example: he was too polite to scold me. Why is it important to mimic the pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm of native English speakers? It improves your accent, makes your speech natural, and helps others understand you. It also helps you understand spoken English better. What are the benefits of using simple dialogues from videos to practice speaking? It helps learners practice basic sentences and common phrases, building confidence in speaking and understanding everyday English.
The next thing you need to do is practice every day. Try to spend at least 15 minutes each day speaking English.
Talk to yourself in English about your day. If you have a language partner, that's even better.
Exactly, Leo. Also, integrate English into your daily routine. For example, describe what you are doing as you cook or clean.
Here's an example. Every morning, describe your breakfast routine in English. I'm making a cup of coffee and toasting some bread. I'll spread some butter and jam on the toast.
And while you're driving, you can talk about your journey. The traffic is heavy today.
What's next, Gwen?
Next, try recording and playing back your speech. This helps you know what areas need improvement.
Pick an easy topic like your hobbies or daily routine. Record yourself, then play back the recording to find mistakes.
Let's do a quick exercise. Record yourself talking about your weekend plans. Here's an example. This weekend, I'm planning to go hiking with some friends. We're going to explore a new trail.
Here's another example. Describe a recent trip you took. Last month, I visited the beach. The weather there was perfect.
Fantastic. Just record, listen, and improve.
Many listeners say they've tried many methods but still can't understand native speakers, even when they know each word. Gwen, why is this?
In English, words can change meaning in context, especially in idioms. Native speakers use idioms to make conversations more lively.
That's right. Learning some idioms can make your speech sound more natural.
Here are a few simple ones. Cut to the chase means to get to the point. With to reveal a secret, we can use the phrase spill the beans.
Now, try to use these idioms in sentences. We don't have much time, so let's cut to the chase. She accidentally spilled the beans about the surprise party.
Joining English clubs or online groups can provide you with more opportunities to practice speaking with others.
Also, use language exchange apps to practice with people around the world who want to study English too, right, Gwen?
Absolutely, Leo. Here's an example introduction for an online group. Hello, my name is Gwen. I'm here to practice my English and meet new friends.
Or if you're joining a local club, you can use, Hello, I'm Leo. I'm excited to practice English with all of you.
Individual. Definition, existing separately from the other things. Example, the group has different individuals in it. Exchange. Definition, the act of giving something to someone and them giving you something else. Example, there was an exchange between the two leaders. Method. Definition, a way of doing something. Example, follow this method and you will improve your English skills. Consistency. Definition, the state of always behaving in the same way. Example, we need consistency to learn anything. Integrate. Definition, to combine two or more things to become more effective. Example, you need to integrate exercise into your normal life. Why do some learners have difficulty understanding native speakers, despite knowing the vocabulary? Because native speakers use idioms, which change the meaning and make it harder to understand. What are some ways to find speaking practice opportunities online? Joining online English learning forums, social media groups, and language exchange apps.
Well, folks, that wraps up today's episode. We just explored the secrets to speaking English like a native speaker. I hope you all feel a bit more inspired to go out and speak your mind. Subscribe to our podcast for more tips and laughs every week. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to explore, send us a message. We love hearing from our listeners. Until next time, keep practicing and stay confident. This is Leo and Gwen from Podcast and Chill.